I would like to welcome my first panel to the stage, His Excellency Sheikh Ali Alwaleed Al-Thani, the CEO of Investment Promotion Agency Qatar, and Abdoul Aziz Wane, the Director of the Regional Office of Riyadh at the IMF. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. So we're having a conversation about new growth opportunities, and I think one of the big themes for Qatar and for the Gulf countries has been one of economic diversification. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is whether the backdrop of lower oil prices, and of course the whole purpose of diversification is moving away from being solely dependent on oil, whether that can perhaps derail the progress that can be made in other parts of the economy. So talk us through how you see the dynamics unfolding.
Well, thank you, Joumanna. This is my fifth Qatar Economic Forum. So happy to be here every year over the last 5 years. I think maybe I'll start a bit in a different way. Why would foreign direct investment be important to Qatar? Many countries generally try to tackle specific challenges, whether it's unemployment, financing gaps when it comes to their economic development. Qatar generally has a different outlook. We look at it, we look at FDI in terms of furthering the diversification of our economy. So when we go out, promote, facilitate, incentivize foreign direct investment, and the Prime Minister made a great announcement today on the launch of our first 4 packages on incentives. We do it in sectors that help us diversify from the hydrocarbon sector. On a macro level, we don't see that impact when we see, for example, non-hydrocarbon GDP growth consistently outpace growth in the hydrocarbon sector. When it comes to government revenues, there's been a strong push towards diversification of government revenues, maintaining, I would say, a very attractive platform for doing business, especially when it comes to taxation. So we don't see lower hydrocarbons kind of impact. Probably it could be more of a drive towards greater foreign direct investment flows.
What are the main branches of this diversification that are going to power growth the next few years? And then we'll move on.
Yeah. So there are many factors that come into play. First is domestic investment, and that induces foreign direct investment when it comes to building partnerships, joint ventures locally. In-country value and industrial policies play a significant role. Incentives. So to highlight a bit more in detail, today the Prime Minister announced the launch of 3 packages. These packages have a total financial envelope of around $1 billion. They cover a number of different sectors, including advanced industries, logistics, financial services, and technology. And they cover around 40% of costs over a 5-year period at a maximum. So we continue driving the value proposition of Qatar, and we see the GCC emerge as a bright spot when it comes to the global economy. That is due to a number of fundamental factors, including a sound macroeconomic backdrop. We have strong long-term vision in terms of the public sector and more cohesiveness in terms of the pace of economic reform. And as well the connectivity and infrastructure that this region makes available to investors.
Abdoul Aziz, I'd like to ask you about that connectivity point. Given the extent of the global uncertainties right now, one of the conversations that I've had with people has been centered around the connectivity of this particular part of the world, and specifically a connector between East and West. Do you think, given the reprioritization of supply chains, the potential for reshoring, that actually this part of the world, specifically the GCC, could stand to benefit, could actually serve as a positive catalyst for growth?
Thank you very much, Joumanna. It's good to be here. It's good to share the stage with His Excellency. Thank you very much for the distinguished audience for being here. I would like to take maybe, if you allow me, just maybe 30 seconds, take a step back and talk a little bit about the global environment. This will give us some backdrop and some context to understand the role of the GCC and how the GCC can be integrated and leverage basically its potential connectivity to contribute further to global supply chains. I would like to say that the world's economy is today at a very, very significant juncture. The world economy has been buffeted by multiple shocks. COVID-19, the fragility in Europe, in this region itself. Government responses has been consistent and strong. Fiscal policy had contributed to sustaining demand. Monetary policy also had done the same. And then around 2023, we ended up with a world economy with inflation was increasing significantly. And then central banks started then to cut down and to stabilize the economy. So in 2024, we came to a world economy where that was stabilizing. So growth rate was significant, but still below the world growth potential. And inflation was also coming up. It was also coming down. And then we entered the uncertainty zone that you had mentioned. And now we are in a situation where world growth is still going up, but has been reduced significantly. And this is true not only for the world economy, but also for GCC economy. So we are in a world that is amidst a high level of uncertainty. And as someone was mentioning this morning, uncertainty is definitely not good for growth and for growth prospects. So what can the GCC do in terms of connectivity? The GCC, many countries actually in the GCC, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, where we are today, and the UAE are actually leaders on the global stage in terms of connectivity, building infrastructure for higher connectivity, building infrastructure for also artificial intelligence. And this is the leverage that the GCC region can use to increase its contribution to global growth.
Can I just ask you as a quick follow-up to that, do you expect lower oil prices in light of the diversification, but the backdrop is lower oil prices to exert a significant amount of pressure on GCC's public finances, some of the country's public finances?
Yeah, I mean, considering the reduction in global GDP, that is also driven by the reduction in global demand, this will also affect oil prices, right? I mean, you will have a lower demand for oil prices, and this will have an adverse impact on oil prices. So oil prices have been revised down, and the impact of oil prices on the GCC economy, I can take maybe a typical GCC economy. A $10 reduction in oil prices can have on external balances or fiscal balances up to 2.5% of GDP. So increase in external balances or domestic balances, fiscal policy. So this is a significant challenge for GCC economies, but they do have the buffers. They have the buffers necessary. They have the medium-term fiscal framework, as the Minister of Economy of Saudi was mentioning this morning. They have the fiscal framework to react to these shocks, but the shock is here.
Yeah. Your Excellency, final question that I want to ask you is about the scope for collaboration amongst GCC countries and perhaps leaning into each country's relative specialization to enhance outcomes.
So, I mean, we see basically the growth that our neighboring economies are witnessing as being kind of the pie is getting larger, and it's getting larger at such a fast pace that everybody in the GCC benefits. We see a number of initiatives take place. Qatar and the UAE have partnered on the Middle East Europe transport corridor. We have obviously the inter-GCC rail network that has been in the works, the unified tourism visa, and I think a number of these initiatives will come into play. We will see greater economic integration. Last year, the UAE was one of our top 5 inbound foreign direct investors in Qatar. So we see positive momentum when it comes to intra-GCC integration, and as well as kind of a more cohesive approach as a bloc when it comes to economic diversification. Obviously, every country in the region has its own unique value proposition that caters to specific industries and investors. And I think that there are going to be greater complementarity when it comes to economic development.
Great, that's a good place to leave it. Panelists, thank you so much. That concludes this discussion. Thank you.